Okay, we are going to move on to forms. We're going to click on our waffle and click on forms. It's a purple icon. You can also type in forms.google.com. This forms homepage looks very similar to the docs homepage. You have where you can create a new form here, the plus sign. You have a template gallery. You can hide the templates if you like. You can see your forms in either grid view, which is what we have here, or in list view. You can sort your forms by owned by me. So these are forms that I've created. Owned by anyone would be forms that I've created plus forms that I've collaborated on. And then not owned by me would be someone else has created the form, but I am a collaborator. And I'll explain being a collaborator a little bit later once we create the form. You can sort by last opened by me, last modified by me, last modified if you're collaborating with someone else, and of course alphabetical order. So we're going to go ahead and create a new form. So forms are a way to collect information. A form can be sent to parents to collect information, students to collect information. You can create exit tickets, you can create quizzes. So we're going to go on the premise that we're going to use this to create quizzes right now. So the first thing we're going to do is click on the hot dog or 3 dots and go down to preferences. So this is our default settings. Collecting email addresses, that means anytime that you create a form, you're going to require someone to sign in with a Google account. You don't need to make that your default because you may not want to do that all the time. And in settings, we can always add that. If you want to make your questions required on your quiz, you can do that. You can always change this, but if you think that the majority of your quizzes you want the questions required, check it off. You can set up a default quiz point value. I just put 5. You're welcome. You can put whatever you want, and you can always change it on an actual form. And then click save once you've set your preferences. Okay, so we're going to now go to settings, which is the gear. And general, again, this is where I tell you collecting email addresses. If you have this as your default, you can always take it off. Or if you don't have it as your default, you can always check the box. But if you do collect email addresses, you are requiring them to sign in with a Google account. The default is to restrict users to our domain. For this quiz, I would like you to take it off. And limit to 1 response, leave unchecked for this particular form that you're going to do in your practice. And then you're going to decide what can the respondents do. Can they edit after they submit, and can they see summary charts and text responses? So that means they would see a summary of everyone. So if it's a quiz, you may not want to check that. And if it's a quiz, you may not want them to edit. Presentation, this is personal preference. What do you want to show? What do you want to be able to see? Do you want to show the progress bar? Do you want to shuffle the question order? Do you want to show a link to submit another response? For your practice form that you're going to make, just to make it easier for you, check off show link to submit another response. So once someone has submitted a response, they will get this confirmation message. Your response has been recorded. You are able to change that. To whatever you want. And then when we go to quizzes, you're going to actually have to toggle this on to make it a quiz. Lock mode on Chromebooks is an awesome feature that has just been added. It hasn't been that long that it's had this option. For your practice quiz, do not turn on locked mode. But if you are, which you will be using Chromebooks in your classroom, if you turn on locked mode, then the students cannot open any other tabs or any other applications while taking a quiz. So you would, they couldn't, search for answers and then come back and answer the questions on the quiz. And then, do you want the grade to be released immediately or later after you look at it? And then what can the submitter see? Missed questions, correct answers, point values. That's all kind of whatever you prefer. And then click Save. You may have noticed this first question. Now you have an answer key down here. That's because we've made it a quiz. But the first thing we're going to do is title our form. Remember with Google Docs, the default name of the file is untitled whatever it is. So untitled doc, untitled form. You want to make sure you change that. So I'm going to make a real easy quiz. And then click here in the document name. I have a star if I want to store it, and I can move it somewhere. So I'm going to move it to my Ignore This folder. So under your title, you have a form description. So this is where you could put some directions, or you don't have to put anything, but or saying why you're sending this survey out, or if it's to the parents, just to kind of give them a little heads up on what they're going to be doing. We have multiple types of questions available to us in form. You have a short answer, paragraph, multiple choice. If you choose multiple choice, only one answer can be the correct answer, or students can only select one answer, check boxes, students can select multiple answers. You have a drop down menu where they can only select one. You can have them upload a file. A linear scale, which would be like how comfortable are you using Google Forms, 1 to 5. Multiple choice grid, where you have columns and rows, and you can only have one answer per row per column. A checkbox grid would let you have multiple answers for rows. So you could have the rows say Google Docs, Google Form, Google Drive, and then the columns could be very comfortable, somewhat comfortable, need help, and then you could rate how you feel about those apps. And then date and time if you want to schedule something. I don't know necessarily that you would use this with your students, but you can have them select a date and time. So we'll just start with the default multiple choice. Whenever you have a quiz, what I suggest you do is your first question should be what your student's name. Have them enter their name. So you can last name, first name, and you can see Google changed it to a short answer. Sometimes Google kind of reads your question and changes it, and that's okay. You can change it back, but since this is a short answer, we don't want it to go back to multiple choice. Now, the default is that it's required, which of course you would do. You have a trash can if you want to delete a question. You have the ability to duplicate a question. And then here's your answer key. And remember, our default was 5 points. And up here you can see so far I have one question, so the total points is 5. But on this answer key, I don't think they should get points for their name. So I'm going to change this to 0 and click Done. And now I'm going to add another question. So you have a floating menu bar here. The first one is the circle with the plus sign. So of course that means new. So we're adding a question. And my next question is going to be, what color is the dog's bow? And I am able to add a picture to my question. So I'll just do with green, let me see, pink. And so then I'll get a little cute picture of a dog with a pink bow and add it to my question. And then I can type in my options. So my options are going to be green, pink, blue. I could also add pictures to each answer choice if I wanted. If I add other, that would be a blank that they would type into. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to just click on the X next to other. Now I have to go to my answer key, and the first thing I need to do is select the correct answer. So the correct answer is pink. And you can add answer feedback. So if an incorrect answer, you could say the bow is pink if they got the answer wrong. For a correct answer, you could say awesome. Okay, you can also link a website or a file in your Google Drive or something like that that would maybe explain the answer depending on what kind of question you have. This is a link to a YouTube video. However, students aren't able to watch YouTube, so that wouldn't really work. And then click Save. Okay, I have to click Done because I've done with my answer key for this one. I want to create another question, and I'm just going to create a checkbox so I have multiple answers for this one. So I can say which foods are red, and my first option can be a cherry, and I can look for a picture of a cherry. And insert that. I can have a cucumber. I think I accidentally X'd out on my cherry picture. Okay, so I'll just click a cucumber. Let me go back and do cherry again. Okay, and let me do a tomato. Okay, so that's good enough for now. So I need to go to my answer key, and there are multiple answers for this. That's why I needed it to be a checkbox. So cherry and tomato. Again, I can have feedback for an incorrect and correct answers. If you don't put anything, it doesn't say anything. And then I'm going to click Done. If I wanted this to be more points, I can say, because they have to choose 2 answers, so maybe I want this to be 10 points. I can change it, even though my default was 5. You can always go back and change it. Okay, let's add one more question. I'm going to make this one a short answer. So the question is, what color is the sun? And they give some suggested answers. I would go with yellow. I'm going to go with yellow. So I'm going to add my correct answer. It's yellow. But since these are young students, they might put capital letters. They might put the first letter capital. They might spell it with only one L. They might forget the W at the end, but I would know that all of these answer choices would be acceptable because I would know that they were trying to type yellow. Any other answer than this, you can mark it as incorrect. And then you can always go back if they type something that you thought was correct. You can always go back and add them points. So that's no big deal. But you're trying to help it self-grade. So putting as many possible correct answers as you can is a good idea. And then click done. Okay, so on this floating menu, we see this is where you add questions. If you already have some forms created, you can import questions. So you would find the form that you would want to import a question from. And for some reason, oh, here we go. Okay, so I'm just going to randomly pick one. Let's go with the report card. Select it, and I want to add the school. So we choose what school, and then import the question. And now I have a drop-down menu of all of the schools that the students could choose. It doesn't go with my quiz, of course, but that's just showing how you can import a question. I don't really want to keep this question on my quiz, so I will delete it. Okay, under import questions, you can add titles and descriptions to. So if you kind of want to separate it, you want to separate your questions, but not really separating it to pages, where it would be kind of like pages, then you can add a title and description. So I will just click on this one. My title and description is under it. I'll call this red. I can make another title and description and then move it above this one. Call it dog. Anytime you choose the little 6 dots right here is where you can move it. Under the title and description, you have the ability to add an image. So it's going to add an image not associated with a question. So let me go ahead and add an image here. I'm just going to add picture of crayons so you can get some different colors. And you see it adds the image by itself. It's not associated with a question. So this might be if you have an image that you would be using for multiple questions, like a map or a quote or maybe a little excerpt from a book where the student would have to look at it and maybe answer 2 or 3 questions. If you do insert an image and have multiple questions, or any question related to that image, do not shuffle the order of your questions, because then the questions relating to that image may not be near that image. You can give the image a title. You can align the picture. You can change it if you want. You can remove it. You can also delete this whole question. And then you can hover the text if you show it. Okay, after that image, you have adding a YouTube video, which we're just gonna skip over because YouTube is blocked for the students. And then we have adding sections. So you can add a section to your quiz. And I like sections because I can kind of group my questions. And when somebody is taking my survey, they're not overwhelmed. If it's 20 questions, they don't have to scroll down all 20 questions. I might break it up into chunks of 5, and then that way they just see 5 questions, and it's kind of like section would be another page. so they don't see everything at once. So when you add a section, you can give it a title. I'll just call the short answer. And if I wanted this picture to be in that section, I just have to drag it down. Okay, so this is your section 1, your first section, and then this is section 2 with your other sections. So you have the option too of, once you have sections, you can make it where they may have to go to one section if they say this answer and go to another section if they say this answer, if they choose this answer. So let me just make another section right here. And I'm going to call this one multiple choice. So we have 3 sections. I want this description to come here so I can just move it around. And what I can do is, since I have different sections, if I come back to this multiple choice question, so say they get this question correct, maybe I want them to skip to another section. So I can make them go to another section. So maybe I have another section that has some more multiple choice questions where they have to choose the color pink or whatever, and so I can just say they can go to section 2 if they answered this one, section 2 if they answered this one, but if they get it correct, then they will go to section 3 and they can skip section 2. Okay, so let's see what our quiz looks like so far. We're going to come up here to the eye and click it, and this is what your students would see. The title of the quiz, and then this is the first section, so you see how I have next. So it's required, so I'm just going to type okay, what color is the dog's bow? So I'll click pink. Which foods are red? I'll do cherry and tomato. And now I can either go back to the first section or click next. And because I got that answer correct, I went to the third section. What color is the sun? And I'm going to submit, and I can view my score. So I see that I got this answer correct, I got these answers correct, and I got this answer correct. So I got 20 out of 20 points. Okay, if I want to submit another response, this is why I need you to do this, because we'll do a couple of responses so we can look at them. You may notice at the top here my responses, and I have a number 1 here. So I'll click on the response tab, and I can see a summary. We only had one person that answered, but I have my summary. I can see the answers for each question. I can go by question, and I can look at individuals. And say that somebody didn't do so well on the quiz. If you wanted to, you can print out or save it as a PDF and submit it back to them so that they can have a record of their grade if they need to show their parents or something. Okay, so let's go back to our quiz. We're in editing mode. Something I forgot to talk about when we first started was the palette, the theme. So purple is like the color of forms, but you can change that. So you have different theme options. You can choose an image to go on top of the header. Let's see, I'm gonna do some cute little flowers. And you can see the colors change to go with whatever the image is. The header, I'm sorry, the header image. You can change it though if you don't want, you want this to be lighter, or you want to go with the darker color here, and in the background color you can change it however you want. They do have a few types of fonts, but honestly, if you're doing this as a quiz or a test, I kind of would stay with basic because the other ones could be a little bit hard to read. Okay, now that we have created our form and we're finished, we're ready to send it out to our students or our parents or our faculty, wherever we're trying to get some information. We're going to click the send button. You can email it out. You can't email to students. Email is not open for students, but if it's parents or faculty, you can do that. You can also shorten the link, copy it, put it in an email, put the link on your website to where people can fill it out, put it in Google Classroom, and your students can take the quiz. If you want someone to actually collaborate with you and be able to edit it, because people that you're sending the form to will only see this version of your form. They will not see the, I'll call it the back end, where you can actually edit the questions. But if you do want someone to help you and to collaborate with you, click on the hot dog and click add collaborators. And you see when the collaborator box pops up, it looks very, very similar to how we were sharing. Forms is the only app that has collaborators instead of sharing. It's the only one that doesn't have the consistent share button, but this looks very much like the share button, except you only have editors. So I'll show you that if I add someone, I'll add my other account. My only choice is an editor. So we don't have the choice for someone just to view it. If they just viewing it, you would send them the link. Editors are able to view and delete the form responses, so they're going to be able to see the responses also. They can do everything that you can do except actually delete the form itself. In your settings, if you're collaborating with multiple people, you can make it to where they can't change. Well, you don't have other permissions, but they can't add someone else. That would be the sharing port. And then this viewers and commenters you don't have, so I'm not really sure why this is here. I think it's just a little glitch. And then you would just send it. And you can see one person was added. Then let's go to the response tab. This is where you would see all of your responses. Summary, we only have one, the question, the individual. If you are finished accepting responses, like if the deadline has passed, if you want to do this after the class period so students can't go back and work on it, you could toggle this off, and this form would no longer be accepting responses. If someone clicks on the link, they would get this message, which you can change. So that's up to you if you want to do that. Once you have responses, you're going to want to look at them in a sheet. So you would, you would click on the sheet icon and create a new spreadsheet. So it's going to be called whatever your form is called, plus responses, and you can click create. If you want multiple forms to be on one spreadsheet, like if you do bell ringers and you want it all to be on one spreadsheet, every bell ringer, all you would do is click on select existing spreadsheet, click select, and then find the spreadsheet you wanted the responses to go to. But for this one, we're going to create a new spreadsheet, and it will open up in a new tab, and we will come back to that later. So let's say you created a quiz that you want to use next year because you thought it was really great. So what you're going to have to do is unlink the form so it would not be linked to that spreadsheet anymore, and then delete all the responses. And so then you would have a fresh, clean form. You would still have the original spreadsheet. You might want to call it, put the year, change the name of it, and then you would just create, once you unlink this form, you'll have the option to create a new spreadsheet again.